I'd like to introduce my mentor and friend, great teacher, Dr. James Doty. He's head of the Center for Compassion over at Stanford University in California. And he's going to be sharing with you one of his favorite reflective exercises, actually. It's called Alphabet of the Heart. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy him explaining this, and then have a go at that guided reflection today to reflect upon the alphabet of the heart. Over to James.
Everyone has the ability to change how they see the world. And some people use a mindfulness practice or a mindfulness compassion practice. And I've been meditating for many years, but the practice that I do now is a result of really reflecting on what I have learned over many years. I reflected on my own journey, and I came up with a mnemonic that has become my practice. And it's 10 letters of the alphabet. And what happens is every morning I sit and I reflect on these 10 letters and go through each of them with intention. And the first is the letter C, to remind me to be compassionate to myself and others. Next is D, and that reminds me to recognize the dignity of every person. Oftentimes, we have a tendency perhaps to look down on another person or not think that they're that they are as important as we are. And by doing that with intention, it makes you understand that really the only way to look at another is eye to eye. E is equanimity. Oftentimes in our lives, we have ups and downs. And when we're up, we want to hold on to that because it makes us feel so good. And when we're down, we want to escape it or we want to get away from it. But the reality is that oftentimes during those down periods, we can learn something, as well as the up periods. But having an evenness of emotion as you go through life's up and downs causes you not to hang on to the extremes, but to see the reality that having a sense of calmness, no matter what happens to you, is really a gift. F is forgiveness. So many people hold on to an event that happened to them. And remember, events have no power, you give them power. And when someone angers you or does something to you that you feel you didn't deserve, you carry anger with you. And the analogy has been made that when you do so, it's like drinking poison and somehow thinking it's going to affect the other person. It doesn't. When you forgive someone, and this is not to say you forget the event that happened, but when you forgive someone and recognize that they, like you, have injured others, and they may not have realized it, or there are other things going on in their life, and you simply forgive them and don't hold that anger, it's an amazing gift that you can give to yourself. G is having gratitude. So many people forget that most of the people outside of the West are living lives that are much, much more difficult than their own. And we have a tendency to look up at others who we think have better lives than us, or more money, or more status. And when we do that, it results in us not being present for our lives. We're always thinking about what could be, or what we want, or what we think we want. But really, the things that actually make us the most happy, are simply being present with the events that are unfolding and not being distracted. So having gratitude for your position and what you have is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's amazing. When you go to a third world country, as an example, you see people who have very, very little. But it's amazing because when they have shelter, when they have security, when they have food, when they have family, they are extraordinarily, extraordinarily happy. They're laughing, they're joyous. And then we look at people in the West oftentimes who seemingly have everything and they're complaining. So having gratitude is another gift that you can give yourself. one of the most difficult ones for a neurosurgeon is humility. But again, there's a tendency to somehow think you're better than another person. And again, having humility and not either bragging about what you have or trying to impress people, and recognize that we're really all connected and we're all the same. When you're able to put yourself in that position, it's a wonderful joy because people connect with you. People want to be with you. I tell my residents and the medical students who I teach that you can always tell a good doctor because when he walks down the hallway, he knows the names of the nurses, he knows the names of the janitors, the service people, even the kitchen personnel, because he recognizes, or she recognizes, that they cannot do their job without those people, and those people are critically important. And he has gratitude for their presence in helping him do his or her job. And having humility really is one of the most powerful things that you can have, and as a result, it makes your life happier because you connect. I is integrity, or having personal values that you live by, where you have a sense of core values that define who you are. J is for justice. Again, this is to recognize our responsibility for the gifts that we have is to care for those who are most vulnerable. K is kindness, simply giving to others. L finally encompasses it all, and that's love. So that's my practice. And in fact, there's an interesting story. After probably a couple months from that talk, I got an email from a woman, and she said, I'm the spiritual director of the largest homeless shelter in the United States. And as a result, I became burned out in my job. I couldn't do it anymore. And she said, my friends had sent me all sorts of scripture, and nothing seemed to really have an impact on me. And my last day at work, someone showed me your talk on the alphabet of the heart, which is what it's become called. And she said, it so moved me, it gave me the strength to return to work. A few months later, she sent me another email, and she said, I started using this practice on our clients, and it's been very, very powerful. And again, both of these emails moved me to tears. And then she sent me another email, and she said, my friend's daughter makes beads. And as you know, in many religions, or malas or prayer beads have been created to allow people to reinforce their practice. And she said, my friend's daughter made a set of beads, wooden beads, based on those 10 letters of the alphabet. And she also added a golden bead to represent the golden rule. And she said, I want to send you some, but would you mind if we sell these as a fundraiser for our homeless shelter? And of course, I immediately agreed. And then a few months later, she sent me another email. And she said, we made this videotape. And it basically goes over the power of these beads and how by repetition and intention, by going through each of those letters, this actually creates compassion, super neural highways. So what I do now is every morning I sit by my bed with these beads, and with intention I go through each one and ending on the golden one to remind me to practice the golden rule. And throughout the day I keep those beads in my pocket, and I arbitrarily pick one of those letters and reflect on it for a few moments. So that really has become my practice.